Hello, welcome all. Today, we'll be talking about a claim peddled by the TV show Ancient Aliens about the geoglyphs of the Nazca lines. As I said before, this will be about the Nazca lines. The Nazca lines are quite mysterious. They were created in 500 BCE to 500 CE. Many theories as to why they were constructed have arose. It is attributed to the Nazca civilization, which had succeeded in finding intricate irrigation techniques for agriculture. Due to their arid climate and high altitudes, combined with the deserts of Peru, they dug underground aqueducts called pukus, which went under the earth to water sources underground and transported the water sources to spiral openings, which allowed its civilization to flourish. Unlike their descendants of the Inca, they didn't have hereditary monarchy rule. Instead, they organized themselves through a sort of network of tribes. The tribes traded and did commerce with one another. It seems through archaeological digs in the area, they also practiced mummification of their kings, which were discovered in the tombs to have headdresses with feathers of rainforest birds. The mummies of the Nazca were placed in the tombs in the fetal position, which is covered by blankets, and regal mummies had accoutrements that were given in the burial. Also famous was their pottery, which had animals, religious, and intricate designs on top of the pots. They also made some similar designs of animals and intricate designs with fabrics. Also fascinating was that some of their pottery also depicted battles, or mystical creatures. The most famous of their achievements is the Nazca lines, which is somewhat mysterious, and there are a few different credible theories and some less credible ones. More on that in a moment. The lines depict several different figures. They made the lines by digging up the red stone on the top layer and exposing the lighter stone underneath. Much of the area which the Nazca lines are situated on is lacking of much wind or airflow. Due to that, after thousands of years, the figures have remained largely intact. The figures depicted are of a monkey, a spider, 3 different kinds of birds, a whale, some odd-looking shapes, and a humanoid figure, some claiming to be an astronaut, as well as lines leading to ceremonial sites. Much of the purposes of these lines aren't fully known, as there isn't a document talking about its purpose. Out of the different theories going forward, we do know what it isn't. Some people have claimed that the lines are an airfield for aliens from another world. The idea that these are an airfield requires a big leap of faith. While peddled by the TV show Ancient Aliens, it all started with a little book called Chariots of the Gods by Erich Von Daniken. In his book, he handwaves away any evidence put forth by archaeology, history, or science, insisting that it was an airfield for aliens. The theory is also talked about by the TV show Ancient Aliens in the very first episode, Season 1, Episode 0, based off of the book. Both sources of information put forth the claim that while shrouded in mystery, they may have the real answer, that being aliens from another world had made contact with the Nazca, and that the lines are indeed an airfield. It starts with the claim that the lines supposedly end abruptly. To back up my point of it not being an airfield made by humans after the Wright brothers created the airplane for our planes in the modern century, airfields have one landing strip for the plane. Had it been an alien spacecraft, and let's just say for the sake of argument that said aircraft looked like a flying saucer, it would have to be one big circle for the aircraft. Or had it been some other shape, it would need to be the shape of that aircraft. None of those shapes would have been any of the lines depicted by the Nazca. Why on earth would any of the shapes of an alien spacecraft look like an animal? Both Daniken in his book and the TV show Ancient Aliens talk of the aliens being in a spacecraft and coming down to the Nazca, for the Nazca to worship them as gods. Both sources point to the phenomenon of America landing planes in the Philippines during World War II and uncontacted tribes making wooden effigies of the planes, hoping for the Americans to come back, thinking of the planes as some sort of gods. What both Daniken and the show fail to mention, however, is that the wooden planes made by the uncontacted tribes seem to resemble actual airplanes, and that we know that this event occurred. There is not even a minuscule shred of evidence that an alien spacecraft landed on these lines. None of the figures depicted by the Nazca resemble an alien spacecraft. There is a supposed astronaut, which, to give them credit to the untrained eye, the said figure could very well resemble an astronaut, but it isn't an astronaut. Most scholars have agreed it's some sort of religious figure. Moreover, there are no spacecraft parts, alien tech, great monuments for these alien space gods, or even a print left by an alien spacecraft upon the supposed airfields. Not only does this theory have no merit, but it also opens up a whole new can of worms and a whole new series of questions rather than answers. What is the vested interest in Nazca and Peru by these aliens? Where did these aliens go? Where did they come from? Why are they on Earth? Why has no government taken any actions to deal with these aliens? Why hasn't the news talked about these stories of aliens for hours and days on end? Why is there no real evidence of these aliens? What do these aliens look like? So many questions, and yet neither the show nor Daniken answer any of them. Daniken and the people in the show have deflected blame from respected academic sources, saying that they are just asking questions, and pointing to things saying this could be a certain way, which is, by the way, only because there is no actual evidence of this ancient civilization having any contact with aliens. They all know it's an outlandish crackpot theory, but the questions are there, and questions, thank heavens, have the apparent quality of hovering in the air until they are answered. Daniken, ebook, page 14. In this quote, not only does Daniken make the outlandish claim that his theory will eventually be proven, but also he puts it in a way of him acting condescending, like he knows better than academia. Quite ironic when you consider that. Moreover, Daniken, it's been over 50 years, more than half a century, and has this theory been proven? No, of course not, because even though he downplays it, his theory has no basis in reality, and he knows it, which can be seen as repeated attempts to gain sympathy, saying respected academic sources would call his theory crazy, which, by the way, I can't imagine why that's the case. Out of all the theories of the Nazca lines, the ancient astronaut theory has the least credible source. That said, I really am not sure entirely what it is. I am not an expert in ancient Peruvian culture, so to take everything I've said with a grain of salt. I suppose there's even a nearly impossible chance that what Daniken and ancient aliens claim is true. All in all, Nazca culture was extremely impressive for all of the feats that they accomplished, with the Nazca lines being one of the most impressive and mysterious, given the lines stretch for 200 square miles. So whatever the purpose of these lines were nonetheless very impressive. But I don't want the Nazca lines to overshadow their other achievements. Irrigation by digging massive aqueducts to provide agriculture, and a thriving population in the Andes Mountains of Peru in ancient times is endlessly fascinating. Their mummification practices and art on their artifacts is also very interesting. Back to the lines, however, as that is what the lies about their culture are about. In regards to the respected academic theories, firstly, there is the astronomical calendar theory, which depicts the animals as constellations, or different kinds of star patterns, as interpreted by the ancient Nazca. There's also the theory of irrigation, which makes sense given their society had found extremely impressive irrigation techniques, which would be difficult by our modern societal standards. There is also the idea that it could be an artistic project, given much of their ancient pottery, textiles, culture had a lot of art-type artifacts. There is also the religious theory, that being the artistic lines are offerings to the gods. It could also be some combination of the different theories. What it definitely isn't, however, is an airfield for aliens. It should also be mentioned that this theory asserts some racist undertones, with its focus being that there is no way the Nazca could have done these grand achievements without the assistance of aliens. Overall, the ancient culture of the Nazca is fascinating, and achieved some excellent feats of art, irrigation, culture, and astronomy. And none of their great feats should be attributed to a group of fictional space creatures. Just because aliens may exist somewhere in the universe doesn't mean that the Nazca built great monuments for them. This theory has no basis in reality, and shouldn't be held up in any self-respecting intelligent world. That concludes the Nazca lines and the lies surrounding it. Thank you for watching.